Joe, what do you like most about the way Pineda has been throwing the ball since he's come back?
Just really consistent. A lot of strikes, ahead in the count most of the time. He's used all his pitches, his slider and his changeup, and his changeup continues to be a good pitch for him. Obviously, his slider is very, very good. But he usually gets us deep in games, and we could use that tonight.
When his slider is working, how dominant can he be out there?
He can be really dominant because he's got movement on his fastball. His fastball's not straight, and he can be dominant. So we need that tonight.
You mentioned the length that you would like to get after the last 2 days, but if you look at the bullpen over a span, they went 28 1/3 scoreless before Esmiel Rogers gave up that run. How impressive is that for a group?
Well, you know, I've said all along they've been doing their job all year, and they've had a blip here and there, which any great bullpen's going to have, but they've been really good and have kept us in games and given us opportunities to win. And you know, you give up 4 in the first, and they basically shut the other team down for the rest of the game and gave us an opportunity to come back.
Does what happened yesterday at all change anything for tomorrow?
No, it would be more if we needed something tonight.
Natalie.
What are your thoughts on Betances as a Rookie of the Year candidate, and where do you see him in a few years if he keeps giving you what he's given you this year?
Well, you know, I think without having a ton of saves, it would be difficult for him to win Rookie of the Year. I think you could make an argument he's been as good as any rookie this year in the game of baseball. What he's been able to accomplish and how dominant he has been and what he has meant to our bullpen. But it's kind of hard when you don't have those saves attached to it. But I think he definitely should be in the conversation, and he's been a huge find for us.
Sweeney.
Joe, do you have updates on everybody?
Prado will continue to try to do more. He'll try to run today, maybe tomorrow. I don't know. Girardi, hopefully sometime this weekend. I can't tell you which day. He feels better today. And then Carlos, I do not have an update on.
Joe.
Joe, going back to Betances for a second, you've gotten a lot of length from him. I think about half of his appearances, he's gotten at least 4 outs from you, for you. Give me the way that Rivera was used early in his career, where he threw over 100 innings before he moved into that closer role. I mean, do you ever see a return to that kind of a role where guys, instead of having a 7th-inning guy and an 8th-inning guy, you frequently have a guy who can give you both?
Well, I think it's possible. I think you run into trouble, though, when you need him multiple days in a row, using him multiple innings, and that's the problem. And that's what you don't like to do with closers. You don't like to use them multiple innings. So I think you have to be careful. The ideal thing would be to have like 3 of them. That would be the ideal thing to have. And we have guys, you know, Adam Warren has done it. Kelly, not quite so much multiple innings, but more than probably what we expected. He's done a good job in doing that. And that's kind of what we've went towards. You know, it's kind of a throwback in a sense, but we've kind of left Robbie in the traditional role.
Jamal, to your right, Joe.
Joe, just to be clear, Gardner is not doing anything pregame? Is he still?
No, I don't think so, no.
Meredith.
And with Gardner, when you say this weekend, just starting to do baseball activity again this weekend?
No,
or
I'm
maybe
kind of hoping he
playing?
plays in an actual game. I hope he hasn't forgotten how to hit in a few days.
Dan.
You've talked about how you need to win a ton of games between now and the end of the year. How much harder is it without so many guys in the lineup?
Well, it's not what you want, but, I mean, you get a big night from Chris Young last night. You know, guys need to step up, and that's the bottom line. I've said all along it takes more than 25 guys to win and to get into the playoffs, and I'm not sure what it's been for us this year, but it's been a lot. But it's not what you want, but it's what it is, and you got to deal with it.
And we briefly talked to Carlos before we came in here. He said no improvement yet. Is that discouraging, I guess?
No, I mean, I think it's, just 24 hours. I'm not discouraged by that. If it goes on 2 or 3 days, yes, I would be discouraged.
Jamal.
With, such a small, I guess, margin for error, do you have to kind of manage against players pressing a little bit or trying to do too much to try to be the guy, I guess, to break guys out of this?
No, I think we have a pretty experienced group and understand that they can't do that. And we remind guys, just be yourself all the time. I mean, That's the message from day one here. Just be yourself and don't try to do too much, and pass the baton if you need to pass it. If they're going to pitch around you or whatever, just do your job.
Andrew.
Joe, when we were in Tampa for spring training and you were watching Betances, what ideally did you think you could get from him when going off what he did in the minors and seeing him this spring?
Well, it started to pick up some steam, I think, when he went to Toronto that day when we were in Dunedin, and he came in and got those big outs, and he did it again when we were in Bradenton, and you said, we might have something here, someone that can add to our late innings. And we kind of worked him in slow and made sure that he kind of got off on the right foot. And we've always known he's had great stuff. We've always known that. It's just when you have young players, you want to make sure they get off to a good start, and you put them in situations to be successful so their confidence builds. And you give them a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And now we've given him a lot. And, so we knew the potential was there. We just didn't know how quick it would come.
Meredith.
Joe, do you still expect to activate Phelps tomorrow?
Tomorrow's Friday?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sweeney. I'm sorry, Dan.
Headley's DHing. Is that just to give?
A rest? I mean, I don't know who's going to have to play 2 games tomorrow, so we're in a long stretch and trying to stay proactive here.
Joe, some of the base running issues you've had, you're really over the course of the whole year. When you're managing young players, and you handle those a certain way, managers and coaches handle. When that happens to veteran players, what do you do about it?
You talk to them about the situation and what they were thinking, and you try to get to the bottom of why it happened, and try to make sure it doesn't happen again, in a sense. I mean, that's what you do. You might do it indiscreetly, but we address all the situations. We want to know what our players were thinking. And sometimes their thought process is not bad. It didn't work out. And sometimes it's not so good, and those are the things you want to make sure that don't happen again.
In a weird way, is it sometimes more acceptable young players?
Yeah, I think sometimes you expect that young players are going to make mistakes. I think you do that. But, older players do it too. And sometimes it's just trying to do too much.
All the way in the back.
So will Tanaka throw bullpen session tomorrow in Baltimore or Tampa?
He will be in Tampa.
Roger.
Joe, where are you on the TBD tomorrow?
TBD. A lot of it depends on what happens tonight. Mitchell's a definite possibility, and he's been informed that he's a possibility. But if I need him tonight, I'm going to use him, and I'll figure out Game 2 when we get to Game 2.
And as far as Pineda goes, I mean, obviously there was all that time that he missed. But for the time that he's been able to pitch for you, I mean, has he been as much of what you expected or maybe even more than what you expected in spring training?
Well, I don't think any of us knew really what we were going to get in spring training, just because he was coming off that injury. So I would have to say it's been more. I mean, he's pitched about as well as you could pitch. I mean, if you multiply his numbers over 200 innings, he would be in probably conversation for Cy Young with his ERA. So, I mean, he's been about as good as we could expect it.
So you're right, Joe.
Joe, what's the significance for you and maybe for some of these players tonight being at home in New York on a day like September 11th?
I think it's important. I think it's important that we never forget and how it's affected the way we live today and all the sorrow so many people in New York have went through, and outside of New York as well, obviously, how it's just changed our lives. So I think it's important that we're here. I think it's important that we honor those who lost their lives, whether they were in the building or they were rescue workers, and we never forget.
Something about Andrew.
Joe, going back to spring training again with Pineda, when he struck out Cabrera and had that outing against Detroit, I know you said to us, but were you getting a little excited about him at that point, even more so because of, even though it was only spring training?
Yes, because of who it was, obviously, and you saw the deception and the movement, and we saw the velocity pretty early in spring training, which we didn't see in, golly, what was it, 2012? Yes, that we didn't see. So yes, we were like, this looks a lot better than it did in 2012.
Dan.
Joe, he really hasn't seemed to have lost much since aside from the injury, the pine tar incident. I know you were confident he would be able to put that in the past, but how important has that been that it seems like that has not impacted him?
Well, I think it's really important that it hasn't affected him, and he's moved on from it and just understood that, I made a mistake. I had an error in judgment. You move on. And it happens to all players. We have error in judgment. It happens to all people in their lives. And you got to move on and you try to learn from it.
T.
Hi. You said that Tanaka has bullpen session tomorrow in Tampa. So usually Larry is watching, and when the bullpen session features.
Right.
So what's the reason this time to the Tampa?
Well, we just want him to get acclimated because he's going to make his start there, and we don't want to take him on a plane trip to Baltimore and then put him on a plane again to go to Tampa. And so it just makes sense that he's in one place, he can do all his work, and it's not being interrupted by plane flights all the time.